What's good? I'm professional shooting coach Colin Castell, and today I'm going to teach you the secrets to Joe Harris's lights out jumper. Let's get it! Joe Buckets, let's go!
Disappointing considering how they had played against New Orleans and Golden State. Harris, open look for three. Joe Buckets.
All right, so Joe Harris of the Brooklyn Nets had an absolutely phenomenal year when it comes to shooting the basketball, and a lot of it has to do with his mechanics when he shoots. So today what I wanted to do is walk through some of those mechanics with you. That way you can add them to your game and hopefully have a career year next season as well. So here's the thing. The very first thing that Joe Harris does great is what we call a pendulum, meaning that his body starts forward and lands slightly backward. So as Joe's getting ready to shoot, he loads his chest down right here, and he really kind of gets his nose over his knees in this direction. So as he shoots, instead of being straight up and down with his chest and straight up and down on his landing, he actually starts with his feet back, his chest forward, and ends with his feet forward and his chest back. Now, by doing this pendulum, it gives him great rhythm, gives him great power, and it gives him great pop off of the shot. So most of the time when he's shooting, you notice that it's really fast, it's really explosive, and a lot of it has to do with that nice fluid pendulum, right? So what I want you to try to do on your own jump shot, try to load up with your chest a little forward, think nose over knees. If you can go nose over knees and then land slightly forward, boom, it's gonna help you out big time. A great way to check and make sure you're doing this good pendulum is on your landing, you're gonna go one relaxed step backwards. So if when you shoot, you land, you go one relaxed step, that means you got a good one. All right, so the next thing you notice is Joe Harris is really good at relieving the tension in his upper body. Now, a lot of players, when they start square to the basket, they get a little upper body tension and it makes it so it's not fluid, and a lot of times they lose power. But with Joe Harris, he actually starts with like a little mini tilt sometimes, or with like a staggered foot, kind of like this. But as he shoots, he actually rotates in the air just slightly, so he lands at a tilted position, right? So he's kind of got this mid-air rotation where his hips come through. Now, a lot of shooting coaches are gonna say, don't do this. You can't hit shots like this. It's an extra variable, et cetera, so forth. That's just not true. Right? It's just not true. You can do this and it works for some players, and for some players it doesn't. So what I highly recommend trying, if you've tried shooting square and it doesn't work for you, and you've tried tilting your feet and it doesn't work for you, then try a rotation. That's kind of the logical next step, right? Where you're starting square and you're twisting in the air. Now, I dug through the archives and I did some research. Now, Joe Harris is a 5'09" boy, right? Grew up in Washington State just like me. And so I watched some of his high school highlights that I found on YouTube. And the thing that kind of was super interesting is he was a much more squared shooter in high school, and as he's gotten better at shooting, he's starting to twist, right? Coincidence? I don't really think so. So what you can try to do is do the exact same thing, where you can start staggered and squared. I wouldn't start, completely squared, but I'd start maybe kind of staggered, and see if a little hip rotation actually unlocks that power and releases that power chain towards the basket. All right, so the next thing that helps Joe Harris with his rhythm and his power is his ball dip, right? Meaning that when he catches the ball, even if it's high, even if it's outside, he brings the ball down and loads it down before it goes back up. Now again, there's some triggered shooting coach at home or some triggered high school coach at home that's going, you don't know what you're talking about. A ball dip's too slow. You never be able to get your shot off, blah, 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 blah. Not true. Some of the best shooters of all time dip the ball lower, right? Joe Harris, great example. Steph Curry, another great example. Kevin Durant, another great example, right? So what you can do is you can lower the ball, and it serves a couple functions. Function number one, you get more power. It's like an uppercut punch. If I start a punch right here by somebody's chin, it's not gonna be very much power. If I get more power up through the momentum, then all of a sudden it's more powerful of a punch. So number one, you get more power. Number two, you can get the ball in a straight power chain towards the basket. If I catch out here and I just go straight up with it from right here, I'm not aligned with the ball, and it's harder to get back to my line. If I load it down and then up, I have a better opportunity of having a straight line on my shot. Think about it like a golf swing, right? If I was trying to hit a golf ball, if I just started with my club up right here and swung through, it's a lot harder to get it on a straight line than if I go back and forward, because that backwards momentum lets it pendulum along the same line as well, right? So anytime you're shooting, try loading the ball down quickly and back up, and I'm gonna bet it's gonna be straighter, you're gonna have more consistency, and you're gonna have more fluidity. All right, so the next thing that I love about Joe Harris, and when he won the three-point contest this last year, I saw everybody talking about was, look at his perfect guide hand. Look at his perfect guide hand, right? But here's the thing, Joe Harris does something different with his guide hand than what most people teach and what most people do. So tried and true, what a lot of people teach is that when you release, you need to keep your guide hand with your fingers directly up towards the ceiling, right? So we think about like a bookend hand, blah, you're supposed to be right there. The problem is, a lot of times that makes your guide hand drop off too early, and you don't get to guide the ball for as long. So if you notice, what Joe Harris does is he actually flexes his wrist forward, and by doing that, he can snap both wrists kind of at the same time. So he finishes it at about a 45-degree angle of flex, right? He's not straight up and down here. He's more of like a 45-degree angle flex. And what that does is it makes it so he can guide the ball longer, right? The analogy I always use is a rifle versus a pistol. The reason why a rifle is more accurate is because it has a longer barrel. It can guide the bullet longer, so when it comes out, it goes straighter, right? Guide hand's the exact same thing. We want to guide that bullet for as long as we can, and Joe Harris can do that by flexing just slightly. All right, so one of the main keys to Joe Harris's jump shot that I think really attributes to a lot of his success, and especially this year, is his set point timing, meaning that the ball reaches his set point right as his legs are unlocking and he's exploding up through his jumper. So a lot of players, they get to their set point or when they're getting ready to begin their release and their legs are still bent right here. Their body's still loaded. So the ball's got to pause for a second, their legs fire, and then their arms fire. But if you watch Joe Harris, it's a smooth timing to where the ball comes up with his hips, and then he gets to his set point right when his legs are unlocking and his toes are getting ready to leave the ground. That gets a perfect power transformation from his body into the basketball, right? It's not rocket science. If we can continue that power chain, it's gonna be more fluid, it's gonna be more powerful, and it's gonna get you good results. All right, so one of the things that absolutely makes Joe Harris an unbelievable shooter is his alignment, meaning as he's getting ready to shoot, his shooting wrist, elbow, shoulder, and hip, and knee are all in a perfect straight line. Now by doing this, he eliminates a lot of side-to-side misses. And there's a great quote when it comes to shooting that says, a straight shooter is a great shooter, and Joe Harris is a perfect example of that. So when he's shooting, notice that no matter if he's coming off of the dribble, off of the pullback, off of the screen, he's always getting that right hip on target, and he's finishing with a completely straight follow through down the line, right? He doesn't break it off to the left, he doesn't break it off to the right, he keeps it nice in a perfect straight line. And if he can do that, keeps it straight, he eliminates side-to-side misses. All right, if you like the Shooting Secrets series, all you gotta do is click the like button and then head to the comment section down below and let me know whose breakdown you wanna see next. And if you're new to Shot Mechanics, you're gonna wanna do two things. Number one, click the top link in the description down below and get free access to my quick draw shooting workout. It's 100% free, instant access, and it's gonna instantly increase your shooting percentage and your shooting speed. And if I make this shot, you gotta hit the subscribe button too. Let's get it! Yay!